Eureka server. Now we created that project and it is running on the port number 8761. And next, Code Concentric company provided admin server concept, which is used to monitor and manage all the backend API actuators at one place. So we have created one project for admin server. It is running on the port number 8080. Eureka server is providing a UI to get the details of all the APIs. Admin server also provided a UI to monitor actuators of the backend APIs at one place. And we have started a Jipkin server also. Jipkin server is used for a distributed log tracing. Your applications backend APIs are executing. When a request is sent, that request processed by how many APIs in the backend and what is the time taken by each API, that monitoring can be done by using Jipkin server. So Jipkin server we have downloaded as a jar file and it is running. The default port number of the Jipkin server is 9411. So all these three servers we are using to implement microservices architecture. After that, I have developed one REST API which is called Greet API. That Greet API acting as a Eureka client, acting as a admin server client, acting as a Jipkin client also. One API is acting as a client for several servers here. This Greet API is running on the port number 9090. In the Greet API, I have configured actuators also. By using actuators, we can monitor our application. Actuator endpoints we are accessing from admin server. Log tracing details we are accessing from Jipkin server. API details, API status, API URL we are accessing from Eureka server. So one API is running. After that, to get the actual microservice feeling, I have developed one more API called Welcome API. Welcome API is going to interact with the Greet API. Welcome API is going to interact with the Greet API. Welcome API can interact with the Greet API directly by using REST template, or it can communicate directly by using web client also. My Welcome API can communicate with the Greet API by using REST template or by using web client also. If you go for REST template or web client, can you tell me what is the problem? If you go for REST template or web client, can you tell me what is the problem? What is the problem? URL hard coding. We have to hard code the URL and always it will use the same URL. When I do load balancing, when I do the load balancing for the Greet API will get the multiple URLs. Your REST template or web client will use only single URL for communication. When we are communicating with the REST APIs, which belongs to the same service registry, then you can go for a FIN client concept. The advantage of the FIN client is, first of all, we are not writing any implementation to communicate. We are just writing an interface. Implementation will be taken care by Spring Cloud. Am I writing a logic inside the method or it is an abstract method? Am I writing any logic in the method or it is just my abstract method? It is just my abstract method. I'm not writing any logic for communication directly. I'm writing one abstract method. That implementation will be provided for that interface and abstract methods in the runtime. And another beauty thing is, when I am using a FIN client to communicate from one REST API to another REST API, I'm giving the name of the REST API or I'm giving the URL of the REST API. I'm giving the name of the REST API. What is the advantage if I give the name of the REST API for the FIN client? What is the advantage if I give the name of the REST API for the FIN client? What is the benefit I'm going to get? What is the benefit I'm going to get? Guys, please speak out. What is the benefit I'm going to get if I give the name of the API instead of the URL? My Welcome API is loosely coupled with the Greet API URLs. Tomorrow Greet API can have multiple URLs. Tomorrow Greet API can run with 10 instances. My welcome API is totally loosely coupled with the greet API. We no need to mention the URL. Welcome API is going to talk to FIAN client. FIAN client will talk to service registry to get the service URL. From that service URL, it is going to talk to greet API. Okay, that is the advantage of going for FIAN client. FIAN client is used for inter-service communication. Okay, with this we are good with everything. Next one. Now, guys, in the project like this, are we going to develop one API in the project, or we are going to develop multiple APIs in the project? We are going to develop one API in the project, or we are going to develop multiple APIs in the project? We are going to develop multiple APIs in the project. So many backend APIs will be available. All those APIs will be registered with the service registry. So many backend APIs will be available. All those APIs will be registered with the service registry. Now, here, guys, currently I have developed two APIs, guys. I have developed two APIs now. API 1 URL, that is a greet API URL is available. Greet API URL is available. So which is something like HTTP, like this some URL is available for API gateway. This is the greet API URL. This is my greet API URL. Okay. Now, next one. This is my welcome API URL. Greet API URL is available and welcome API URL is available. Like this, tomorrow we can have several URLs for our API. Several APIs can be available. Every API will have its own URL. Okay, fine. Now, today I have two URLs. Tomorrow my project can have 20 backend APIs. So 20 URLs will be available. Can you give 20 URLs to the clients to access our application? Can we give 20 URLs to the clients to access our application? Guys, come on. Do we need to give the 20 URLs for the people to access our application? Can I give the 20 URLs for the people to access my application, or I need to give you a single endpoint for the people to access my application? I need to give single endpoint for the people to access my application. Now, there should be one entry point for our application. There should be one entry point for our application. So who is going to provide one entry point for all the backend APIs? Who is going to provide single entry point for all the backend APIs? API Gateway is going to provide the single entry point for all the backend APIs. API Gateway will provide the single entry point for all the backend APIs. Now, API Gateway will contain mainly two logics, guys. First one is the filters, second one is routings. What is the meaning of a filter? Whenever a request comes to the API Gateway is responsible to do some pre-processing and post-processing of a request. When a request comes, we can verify the request is valid or not. If the request is valid, then it will execute the routing. Routing will contain the logic to forward the request to particular backend API. Filters logics and routing logics we are going to configure in API Gateway. So API Gateway is a API management tool which is used to manage all the backend APIs of our application. Our application can contain multiple APIs in the backend. We are not going to expose all the URLs to the people about our APIs. All the APIs are registered with the service registry. API gateway also will register with the service registry. API gateway endpoint we will provide for the public to access. When a request comes to API gateway, we can execute the filter, we can execute the routing. Filter is used to perform pre-processing, post-processing of a request. Routing is used to forward the request to particular backend API based on the URL. Right. As I told you yesterday, in the Make My Trip application, we have several options to do the bookings. Trains booking, flights booking, hotels booking. For everything, there is a backend API. Now, when you click on hotels, the request is going as hotels. When you click on trains, the request is going as trains. When you click on cabs, the request is going as cabs. When you click on buses, request is going as bus tickets. So based on the URL pattern, can we configure the routing in the API gateway? Based on the URL pattern, can we configure routing in the API gateway? Based on the routing, based on the URL, can you configure routing in the API gateway? Understood? Yeah, chalo. Now, I want to create one API gateway, guys, by using Spring Cloud Gateway concept. By using Spring Cloud Gateway concept. Now, API Gateway. API Gateway will act as a mediator between client requests and backend APIs. API Gateway will act as mediator between client requests and backend APIs. API Gateway will provide single entry point to access our backend APIs. In API Gateway we will write mainly two types of logics. One is filter, second one is routing. Okay, API Gateway will act as a mediator between client request and backend APIs. API Gateway will provide the single entry point to access our backend APIs. In API Gateway, we will write mainly below two types of logics. One is filters, second one is routing. Filters are used to execute some logic before request processing and after request processing. Pre-filter, post-filters we can do. Routing is used to tell which request should go to which REST API. There are so many REST APIs available in the backend. Whenever a request comes to the API gateway, that request should be processed by which backend API that will be configured in the routing. That is what I given here. In Spring Cloud, we have two options. In Spring Cloud, we have two options to work with API gateway. One is Joule proxy and another one is Spring Cloud Gateway. One is Joule proxy, another one is Spring Cloud Gateway. Joule proxy is an old approach, guys, that is removed in the latest versions of the Spring Boot. It is outdated. Currently, the latest approach is Spring Cloud Gateway. Filters are used to execute some logic before request processing and after request processing. Routing is used to tell which request should go to which REST API. In Spring Cloud, we have two options to create API gateway. One is Joule proxy, another one is Cloud Gateway. Okay, Joule proxy is not supported by latest versions of the Spring Boot, so we are going with Cloud Gateway. Are you clear with my point now? Right. Working with the Spring Cloud API Gateway. So here you need to create a project and you need to configure the routings and you need to create the filters also. Good. Now see here how we are going to create the API gateway. Working with the Spring Cloud, I am not going to teach you Joule, guys, because the Joule is already outdated. I'm going to teach you the latest approach, which is Spring Cloud Gateway. That is a new concept. Now, in order to create the Spring Cloud Gateway, we are going to use several dependencies. Cloud Gateway also should register with the Eureka. So let me go and create Spring Starter project. Let me create as 05 Cloud Gateway, Cloud API Gateway. Cloud API Gateway. Now dependencies. dependencies. Now, I am making this also as a Jipkin client. I am making this as a discovery client. I am making this as a admin client. Dev tools, I'm configuring in the cloud gateway. Then another dependency we need to as gateway. Spring Cloud routing we can do by using gateway. Spring Cloud Gateway provides a simple, effective way to route to APIs and provide cross-cutting concerns. So any security logic, any filter logic that can be implemented by using this cloud gateway. So see the dependencies I'm choosing. Boot dev tools I'm choosing. Web client, web starter I'm choosing. Gateway I'm choosing. Discovery client, admin client, Jipkin client, and the dev tools. And the dev tools I'm choosing. If you want to Slate, you can add the Slate dependency also. Slate for a log tracing purpose. Slate dependency also I have added. Did I miss anything? Guys, did I miss anything? If you want actuators, you can configure that actuators. Spring Boot actuator, right? Dev tools, Slate, Jipkin, actuator, admin client, Eureka client, gateway, web starter. Anything else missing? Anything else missing here? The main important thing is gateway and Eureka client. Next, finish. Now, the project is getting created. Cloud Gateway project is getting created. I want to represent this project as a Eureka client.
మళ్ళీ నువ్వు వెళ్ళిపోతావమ్మా మళ్ళీ ఈడ్చుకుంటూ వెళ్ళాలి.
Alright, project is created. Go to pom.xml. Can you see the dependency here? Spring Boot Starter Actuator dependency, Spring Boot Starter Webflux dependency, admin client dependency, Slate Jipkin dependency, gateway dependency, Eureka client dependency, and Slate dependency added. Very good. Dev tools also added. Now, how can we represent this project as a Eureka client project? How can we represent this project as a Eureka client project? Enable discovery client annotation we are going to write. Enable discovery client annotation I'm going to write to represent this project as a Eureka client. That is, enable discovery client. Enable discovery client annotation I am writing. And next thing is, go to properties file, convert this to YML, application.yml. I'm going to configure server.port is equal to some 3333. Let us configure a name for this application, and name we can configure register with the admin server, register with the admin client. We can configure these properties, enable actuator endpoints. All these properties I have configured. Only port number I am going to change it to 3333. This is Cloud Gateway. I can say that it is my Cloud Gateway. Understood? What are the properties I have written? Normal. Whatever we have done for the greet API, welcome API, same properties I am writing. Server port, it is 3333. Application name is a Cloud Gateway. Admin client URL. Admin server is going to run on the 8080. Eureka client is running on, Eureka server running on 8761. Endpoints also I have enabled. Actuator endpoints also I have enabled. Now what is the next step? We need to configure routings. Guys, can you tell me what is a routing in the gateway? Can you tell me what is routing in the gateway? What is the meaning of routing in the gateway? I want your response in the chat. What is the purpose of routing in the gateway? What is the purpose of routing in the gateway? Which URL, which request should go to which API? Which request should go to which backend API? That we are going to configure by using routings. Okay, routings we are going to configure based on URL pattern. Routings we are going to configure based on URL pattern. Here I have given the configuration for doing the routings, guys. Spring Cloud Gateway routings we need to do. Spring Cloud Gateway discovery locator routes, that's some configuration part we need to do here. So this is my routing configuration. Spring Cloud Gateway discovery locator enabled true, lowercase service ID is true. This is the actual routing. Now see here, I have given routes. Inside the routes I have configured two routes, guys. I have configured two routes. ID is a welcome API. Now LB, load balancer of the welcome API. Predicates path is equal to /welcome. So what I am telling is, whenever a request comes with the /welcome, then it should go to welcome API. Am I giving the URL of the welcome API? I know the URL of the welcome API, but am I giving the welcome API URL? I'm giving the name of the welcome API. I'm giving the URL of the welcome API. I'm giving the URL of the welcome API. LB stands for load balancer. Here LB stands for load balancer. That means welcome API multiple URL. Welcome API can run in the multiple servers. It can have multiple URLs also. I have given path is equal to /welcome. Path is equal to /welcome. Whenever you request, 1 second, guys, my voice got disturbed. Is it clear? Is it clear for all of you? Now good. Right, guys, now here I am configuring a routing. So here let me take this route. Let me tell you how I have configured this route. Inside the routes I have configured any ID you can give for that. Any ID you can give for that. My API name is a welcome, so I have given the ID as a welcome API. And what is the URL of the welcome API? You can configure the URL directly. You can configure the name also. Like this, you can see, instead of this, I can configure directly like this. http://localhost:9091. I can configure like this also. Now tell me, here you can configure the URL of the API, and when the request should be routed to this URL, when the request should go to welcome API, if the path is /welcome, then I need to route the request to this URL. Now tell me, routing the request to particular URL is recommended, or routing the request based on the API name is recommended? This approach is recommended, or this approach is recommended? This approach is recommended. Why? Because today welcome API is having only one URL. But can you guarantee that every day it will have only one URL? No guarantee, because I may do the load balancing. I may run the welcome API in multiple instances. When I run my API with multiple instances, every instance will have a separate URL. Then always routing will happen to only one server. Always routing is happening to only one server. So routing the request based on the service name is recommended. Routing the URL based on the URL is recommended. Routing based on the service name is recommended, because tomorrow my welcome API may have multiple instances, multiple servers can be available. Now, what is the routing pattern I am doing here? What is the routing path I am configuring? When a request comes to API gateway with /welcome in the URL, then that request should be routed to welcome API. I'm telling to route the request to welcome API. Now, similarly, I have one more service in my project. One more API is available for me. ID, that ID, I can give any ID, any name, ABC also you can give, no problem. ID I am giving as a greet API. URI, load balancer of greet API. And here, predicates. Predicates are used to configure routing pattern. Now I am going to configure path as path is equal to /greet. Path is equal to /greet. Can I say that this request is this is the request which will be routed to welcome API. The request will routed to the greet API. Now do you understand how we are configuring the routings? Are you able to understand how to route the request now? ID can be anything. ID can be anything. URI, name of your application. Predicate is used to configure the request mapping pattern. So now here if you go to flights, when you click on the search button, how the request is going, flight is there in the URL pattern or not? If the flight is there in the URL pattern, it should go to flight API. Whenever I click on hotels and when I click on the search button, if the URL contains hotels, then it should go to hotels API. So similarly here, if request path is containing /welcome, then it should go to my welcome API. It should go to my welcome API. Similarly, I have one more API called greet API. How I will do that? ID for greet API, I can give a ID. ID we don't use anywhere. It is just for internal purpose. Cloud gateway should be able to differentiate our URLs. So that's why I'm configuring a ID. ID we don't use anywhere. ID will be used by gateway. ID I configured. That means ID represents another API we have. What is the URI of another API? Can I give directly like this? http://localhost:9090. Can I give like this? Can I give like this? Why not? Why not? That is the URL of the gateway API, right? But if I go for this, what is the problem? If I go for this approach, what is the problem? Always it will talk to only one URL. So that's why what I will do, I will configure load balancer for gateway. Then I am going to specify LB:/greet API. LB:/greet API. Now I'm giving the URL of the greet API. I'm giving the name of the greet API in the routing. I'm giving the name of the greet API. If you know the name, can you get the URL? If you know the name of the API, can you get the URL? Who will maintain the name and URL mapping? Eureka server. So if you know the name, then you can get the URL from the Eureka server. Okay, URI I have configured as a greet API. When the request should go to greet API? Every request should go to greet API. Yeah? What is the condition? When the request should go to greet API? When the URL is having /greet. Right? How can we configure that? Predicates. In the predicates, I am configuring path /greet. Suppose if you have some query parameter, some path parameter for the URL /greet/star, you can configure like this. It can be anything after the greet. If greet is available, then I want to send it. After the greet, whatever it is there, I don't bother about it. Now you see, when I click on hotels search button, only hotels is available in the URL. There is some other information also in the URL. There is some other information also available in the URL. But do we really need to bother about it? No, it can be anything. I am concentrating only on this path. If URL contains /hotels/** anything, then that request should go to hotels API. Here, request contains greet. After the greet, it can have anything. Then I will send it to greet API. This is the predicate path for the greet API. When the request contains a greet, then that should go to greet API. Are you able to understand this? How I am doing the routings in the API gateway? API gateway is going to act as a entry point for all the backend APIs. If you look at the diagram, you can understand. Clients are going to access backend APIs directly, or client are going to access API gateway. Come on. Clients are going to access the backend APIs directly, or clients are going to access only API gateway? Clients are going to access only API gateway. What is the API gateway? It is a single entry point for the backend APIs. Your application can have 100 backend APIs, no problem. Your application can have 100 backend APIs, no problem. Can you give the 100 URLs to the clients to access your application? We should not. We need to give a single URL for the people to access our application. When people send a request to that URL, that is the URL of the API gateway. Now, how API gateway will understand? User is sending a request for the greeting message. User is sending a request for welcome message. User is sending a request for the flights. Sending for hotels. Sending for trains. Sending for cabs. How you will understand? How you will understand the request came for which API? Request is coming to API gateway. How you will understand? Based on the path in the predicate. What is that, guys? Based on the path available in the predicate. Now you see that in the predicate I have given you a path. What is this path represents? What is this path represents? URL pattern. The path represents URL pattern. If the URL pattern contains /welcome, then that request should go to welcome API. If a URL pattern contains greet, then it should go to greet API. If URL contains flight, then go to flight API. If URL contains hotel, then go to hotel API. Like that, we are going to configure the routes in the API gateway. All these things I have explained in the Spring Boot microservices batch 16 SBMS. All these concepts already I have explained in the Spring Boot microservices. You see, this is the actual Spring Boot concept. In the Spring Boot concept, I have explained all these APIs, Slate, Jipkin, how we are going to implement circuit breakers in the Spring Boot, how we are going to do admin client, admin server, actuator endpoints, okay, and how we are going to implement API gateway, mini project we have done in the API gateway, cloud gateway, filters, routing, service registry. One application will talk to DB, Calci API, Price API will talk to DB. Both APIs registered to service registry, inter-service communication, cloud gateway. This is Spring Boot syllabus. I have already explained that in the Spring Boot microservices class 16 SBMS. Recently, 3-4 days back, May 17th, I explained this application. API gateway I have explained. Right? Boot actuators I have explained. Admin server, admin client I have explained. Circuit breaker I have explained there. Slate and Jipkin I have explained that concept. Understood? I'm repeating everything now. Whatever I have explained in the Spring Boot microservices, all the concepts I am using to develop this mini project. Whatever we learnt in the microservices for 1 month, by using all the 1 month topics, we are developing a mini project which will give you practical knowledge on that. Okay. Whatever we learnt in the 1 month of 16 SBMS, all the topics we are discussing here, and we are developing a mini project. Individually we discussed all the topics. Now we are combining all the topics. We are developing one application. That is mini project. Understood? What are the routings? Now, people may get a doubt. Ashok, why are you giving the star here? Why are you giving the star here? Now let's assume that my greet API is expecting some name. My greet API is expecting some name as a path parameter. Okay? It is expecting some name as a path parameter. That name I am going to take here, string name. I can take that as a path variable. I can take that as a path variable, that name. Alright. That name I am going to specify here. Name. Now, when the request should go to greet API is expecting a path parameter. Then what should I do in the URL pattern? Can I configure URL pattern as a just greet, or I need to configure the URL pattern like this, /greet/name /greet/name, because it is having a path parameter. /greet/name. When a request comes to /greet with some name, then it should go to greet API. Then it should go to greet API. Clear? Now, go to welcome API. Welcome API should take that name input. Welcome API should take that name as the input. /welcome/name. Now it is going to take path variable of string name. Path variable string name. That name I want to send it to FIAN client. How can I send it to the FIAN client? /greet name. Then I am going to specify path variable of name. So whatever the name you are giving as a input for the welcome API, same name I am sending as a input to greet API as a path variable. Understood? Now see, greet REST controller expecting name in the URL. Welcome REST controller is going to send that name to the greet API. Welcome REST controller taking the path variable name. That name it is giving as input for the FIAN client. For the FIAN client, we have a method. In that method, I am passing the name to the greet as an input. Whatever the input I am getting to the welcome REST controller as a path variable, the same data I am passing to the greet REST controller by using FIAN client. Okay, now what should be my URL pattern? Whenever a request comes with the /welcome/name, whenever a request comes with the /welcome/name, then it should go to welcome API. Whenever a request comes with the /greet/name, then it should go to greet API. Now, are you able to understand the routings? Are you able to understand the routings now? How many routings I have configured? 2 routings I have configured. This is path 1 and this is path 2. Whenever request comes to this path, it should go to welcome API. With this path, it should go to greet API. Understood? Clear guys, how to do the URL mapping in the API gateway, how to do the routing in the API gateway? Yes. Now, can we try these applications now? Can we try all these applications now? So now I will be sending a request to which API? I will be sending the request to which API now? Are we going to send the request to this? Are we going to send the request to welcome greet, or we will send the request to API gateway? We'll send the request to welcome, or we'll send the request to API gateway? I will send the request to API gateway. Then what API gateway will do? It will route the request to particular backend API based on predicate. What is the predicate contains? URL mapping. Chalo. Let's run all these projects once and let's try. I have added path parameter guys now. For the welcome also I have added path parameter. For greet also I have added path parameter. Chalo. What I want to run first? What should I run first? What should I run first? Eureka. Right. Run as boot app. Run as boot app. My Eureka server is going to start now. It will run on the port number 8761. Observe carefully. Yeah, Eureka is running on the port number 8761. Currently, any instance registered? No, nothing is registered. Fine. Let me take one box here. This is my Eureka server. Okay, so this is my Eureka server. Let me note it down. Let me note it down. This is my Eureka server. It is running on which port number? It is running on the port number 8761. Port number is 8761. Very good. Next, run the admin server. Run as boot app. Admin server project is going to run now. Admin server project is going to run now. This admin server is running on the port number 8080. The port number for this is 8080. It is considering. Port number 8080. Perfect. Admin server is also running. Check it. Localhost : 8080. Admin server running. Currently no instance is ready. Now I want to run the Jipkin server. Jipkin server jar file we have downloaded. Open this. Java space -jar space Jipkin server jar. It is going to run on the port number 9411. It will run on a port number 9411. This is my Jipkin. You know what is the purpose of Jipkin? You know what is the purpose of Jipkin? It is used for distributed log tracing. What is the default port number of the Jipkin? Port number is 9411. The port number is 9411 for the Jipkin. Very good. Yeah. These are the 3 servers we have started now. These are the 3 servers we have started. Can we run welcome API? That means greet API first. Run as boot application. I'm running my greet API. Greet API is running on the port number 9090. It is going to act as a client for all the 3. Greet API is acting as a client for all the 3. See here, Greet API registered with admin server and Greet API registered with the Eureka server also. Fine. Now let's run the welcome API. Run as boot app. Run as the boot app. I'm running the welcome API now. Welcome API also going to act as a client for all the 3. Greet API is available. Welcome API is also available. Okay. Now I will say that this is my welcome API and this is greet API. This is my greet API. Greet API. Okay. Fine. And similarly, I do have welcome API also, which also registered with the Eureka server. Greet running on the 9090, welcome running on the 9091. Go to admin server, greet registered, welcome also registered. Greet registered, welcome also registered. In the welcome API, I have 2 things guys. One is FIAN client. FIAN client is also part of welcome API. Okay. This is my welcome API, which is having a FIAN client. Why we are having a FIAN client? Which is used for inter-service communication. Which is used for inter-service communication. Are you guys able to understand this? Now, here I have FIAN client. And here this is my welcome API. In the same welcome API, I do have a FIAN client. FIAN client is used for inter-service communication. FIAN client is used for inter-service communication. This is my welcome API. Welcome API is available. Greet API is also available. Are you guys clear with this? Are you guys clear with this, what we have implemented as of now? This FIAN client is going to communicate with the Greet API. FIAN client we have implemented for inter-service communication with the Greet API. FIAN client is responsible for Greet API because we configure the name of the Greet API in the FIAN client to access that. Inter-service communication. FIAN client is talking to Greet API. Greet API is running on the port number. Greet API is running on the port number 9090. Welcome API is running on the port number 9091. Are we good with this, whatever we have implemented? And can people access our APIs directly, or people cannot access our APIs directly? Can people access our APIs, or people cannot access our APIs now? People cannot access our APIs. People are going to access what? People are going to access our API gateway. So what API gateway I have used now? Cloud gateway concept I have used now. What gateway concept I have used? Cloud gateway concept I have used for my application. This is Spring Cloud Gateway. Spring Cloud Gateway concept I have used. It is running on what port number? 3333. My cloud gateway running on what port number? 3333. What is there in my cloud gateway now? Can I say routings available? Can I say routings available in my cloud gateway? What is the meaning of routing? What is the meaning of routing? Come on. What is the meaning of routing? Request should go to which REST API in the background, that routing we have configured. That routing we have configured. Now, let's run our routing also, API gateway also, API gateway. Right click, run as. Did I configure port number and application name? Yeah, 3333 port number. Application name is, where is the application name? Server port to Spring application name I have not configured, I think so. Let me configure application name. Spring dot application dot name is equal to, I'm going to configure it as a cloud gateway. I'm giving the name as a cloud gateway. You know all the properties here, right? Server port. These are the routings. If a request comes to /greet/name, go to greet load balancer URL. If request comes with /welcome/name, go to welcome API load balancer URL. That means the name of the API I am giving instead of the URL. It is used to register with the Eureka, and it is used to enable actuator endpoints. Where it is registering with the admin server, we don't have the property to register that with admin server. Write this, boot admin client URL. I want to register that with the boot spring.boot.admin client URL. Spring.boot.admin client admin client.url. So what is the URL of the admin client? Admin client URL is 8080. Admin client URL, right? So server port number, gateway routings, application name, register with admin server URL, register with Eureka server URL, enable actuator endpoints for the API gateway. Oh my god, 32 properties we have configured in the YML file. Right. Now let's refresh this project, run this, run as boot app. Run as boot app. Cloud gateway. Cloud gateway is getting started. Yeah, go to Eureka. Wow. Is it registered? Is this cloud gateway registered with Eureka? So cloud gateway is also working as a Eureka client or not? Cloud gateway is also working as a Eureka client or not? Is that cloud gateway registered with admin server? Is that cloud gateway registered with admin server? Yes. Now, by looking this diagram, tell me, I want to send a request to Greet API. What is the URL I need to follow? You look at this diagram. Now I want to send a request to Greet API. Tell me which URL I need to hit. What is the URL pattern? Can you tell me? I want to access directly Greet. I want to access directly Greet. I should send a request to which server? I should send the request to which server? Eureka server, gateway server, Greet server, welcome server, admin server, Chipkin server. Which server I need to access now? I want to send a request to the Greet API directly. Check this. Go to browser. Go to browser. Now let me open Chipkin also. Localhost colon 9411 for the Chipkin. Chipkin is also running. Currently run query. Yeah, these are the previous executions that it is displaying. And cloud gateway also now, just now, a minute ago, few minutes ago, few seconds ago, cloud gateway is also registered. Now see the URL localhost colon 3333/greet/Raju. I'm going to send a request to this URL. Can you tell me this URL is going to which server first? Then it will go to which server next? This is my URL, guys. Can you guys tell me if I send a request to this URL in the browser, what will happen? Come on. What will happen if I send a request to this URL? Which is server port number is 3333? I'm sending a request to 3333. Which server port number is 3333? API gateway. What the API gateway will do? What the API gateway will do now? What this API gateway will do now? It will route the request to welcome API. Sunil, you are sleeping, man. What is the URL mapping I have done for the welcome API? /welcome. Am I sending a request to /welcome? Am I sending a request with the /greet? Observe my URL pattern. First, which server will receive my request? First, which server will receive my request? API gateway. What API gateway will execute now? What API gateway will execute now? Routings. Which routing is matching with this URL? Which routing is matching with this URL? Which path is matching with that URL? This path is matching or this path is matching? First path is matching or second path is matching? Second path is matching. If the second path is matched, it should be routed to which API? Greet API. Okay, now send the request. Raju, good morning. Am I getting the response successfully? Congratulations. API gateway is working. Routing is working. See the URL. Localhost /greet/Raju. I'm sending a request to API gateway. But who is giving this response? Which REST API giving this response? Which REST API is giving this response? Greet API. Am I sending a request to the Greet API directly, or I am sending a request to the cloud gateway? I am sending a request to the cloud gateway. Cloud gateway is routing the request to Greet API. Samjhe? Now tell me the URL to send the request to welcome API. Tell me the URL to send the request to welcome API. I want to access welcome API now. I should send the request to the welcome API directly, or I should send the request to the gateway? Gateway. Very good. Now you are giving the correct answer. Localhost /welcome/Suman. Chalo. Now tell me, if I send a request to this URL, kya hoga? Internally, what will happen when I send the request to this URL? When I send a request to this URL, what will happen? What will happen when I send a request to this URL? First request will go to API gateway. Request will go to API gateway. In the API gateway, which path is matching for the given URL? Which path is matching for the given URL? Come on, which path is matching for the given URL? /welcome/name. See here, /welcome/Suman. Name can be anything. It is a path parameter. Name can be anything. It is a path parameter. So this path is matching. If this path is matching, which URI it has to access? It should route the request to which URI? Welcome API. Does it know the URL of the welcome API? It is having only name. Then what should it do? It has to get the URL from where? From where it will get the URL? Eureka. It get the URL from the Eureka. It send a request to welcome API. What is the welcome API REST controller doing now? Request came to welcome API REST controller. What is the welcome API REST controller doing here? What is the welcome